Bill Goldberg, or Steve Austin with the aspect ratio screwed up, was a legitimate wrestling phenomenon. He may have been a one-trick pony, but when that trick is murdering whoever's standing in your way, then that, sir, ain't a pony to mess with. With his winning streak being one of the most lauded in wrestling history, Goldberg is still fresh in the minds of fans, especially with his younger brother Ryback making big backstage noise. And with him still fit enough for one last run somewhere, there'll always be rumours of him making a return to WWE's hallowed halls. Should that happen, here's one or two things they might want to leave out of his hype package. I'm Adam from WhatCulture.com, and here are 10 things WWE want you to forget about Goldberg. Number 10, he was an example of WCW Booking Genius. If you think the way WWE would like you to think, then first of all, please stop touching yourself to that picture of Roman Reigns. And secondly, when you think of WCW, you think of them as a company who entirely stole their way into their own success. NWO, capitalizing off Hall, Nash, and Hogan's work in WWF. Same with Macho Man, Mean Gene, Bobby the Brain, Lex Luger, blah blah blah. Sting, capitalizing off The Crow. Ric Flair, off his work in the NWA. Goldberg breaks that trend. He's one of the admittedly few WCW homegrown success stories, but he was a giant success story, and proof that, as much as it might annoy Vince, WCW were capable of creating great wrestling angles from the ground up, and that, ironically, WWE dropped the ball with Goldberg when it tried to replicate his WCW success. Number 9, messing up his own hand. No promoter likes it when their talent succumbs to injury, and thankfully that hasn't happened at all in the last 12 months. Thank goodness. Thank goodness for that. Promoters like it even less when their talent injure themselves in a totally doofus way. Step right up, Bill Goldberg, and one of the biggest acts of doofussery in wrestling. On an episode of Thursday Night Thunder, of all things, Goldberg got really cross to limousine. Maybe it was looking at him funny, and he set to work reenacting that bit from Street Fighter 2. The windscreen was gimmicked to crack when hit with Goldberg's fist, the passenger window was gimmicked to break, the main window on the side was not, because it refused to crack the first time. Not taking "stop you maniac, that's actual glass" for an answer, he repeatedly thumps the glass until it breaks, completely destroying his own hand and sidelining him for many weeks. Of all the ways to go out, this is one of the absolute stupidest. Number 8, Linda McMahon calls him disappointing. Oh, not you too, Linda, you're supposed to be the nice McMahon, even if you're the absolute worst at taking a stunner. Oh god, look at it, make it stop. So, 2003, and Goldberg's been on WWE TV for a couple of months, and the company were doing their 4th quarterly conference call, taking calls before the media, etc. During that call, in which Linda blamed the Iraq War for low pay-per-view buys, sure, why not, she also let slip that she thought that Goldberg's run thus far had been disappointing. That is a savage thing to say in front of the press, and a comment that obviously infuriated big old Bill. If WWE ever hope to lure him back, they'll need to bury stuff like this. Number 7, the Regal Match. Speaking of public embarrassments, we're heading back to WCW in this shocker of a match. Goldberg's whole thing was arrive, eat a man alive, poo him out, kick that poo in the balls, and then leave. In February 1998, the streak was building steam. Goldberg and William Regal, then going by the name Steve Regal, were booked for a match, and it was to go 6 minutes, which is weird because before that Goldberg hadn't gone much beyond 90 seconds. He was massively exposed during this match as not being ready for a competitive matchup. He looked clumsy, the match was awkward and hard to watch at points. It threatened to derail Goldberg's momentum. What follows has been quite a public battle between the two men, with Regal claiming he was told to have a competitive wrestling match and that he was just doing his job, and Goldberg claiming that Regal stiffed him and took advantage of his weaknesses to curry favour with the locker room veterans. Regardless who you believe, it's a blot on Goldberg's career, and one that everyone involved would like people to stop talking about. Oh, sorry. Number 6, the actual numbers of the streak are bull. It was one of the greatest things to happen to pro wrestling, they claimed, and when Goldberg's streak ended via cattle prod and jackknife powerbomb at Starrcade, a dumb decision, which has come to be much derided in years since, it stood at a phenomenal 173-0. Ha ha, off. Chris Jericho has gone on record saying the actual number of wins Goldberg racked up did not even come close to the number of matches they were claiming. It's since become an established fact that pretty much every week WCW officials were massaging the numbers, with the streak becoming like the Big Show's height or Stephanie McMahon's boobs, a never-fluctuating work of fiction. Still, it's Goldberg's greatest accomplishment and a huge part of his value even today, so WWE would not like you to investigate its authenticity. Cheers. Number 5, WWE Sabotaged His Momentum. So, when Goldberg finally arrived in Vincent's wacky house of thick lads, creative thought, what do we know about Bill Goldberg? No one can beat him. Cool, we'll do that. Goldberg got a mini streak in WWE, besting The Rock. Wow. Chris Jericho. Wow. Christian. Oh, no, okay. Lance Storm. And then came SummerSlam 2003 with Goldberg going up for Triple H's title in the Elimination Chamber. Goldberg eliminated Randy Orton, Shawn Michaels and Chris Jericho in fairly quick succession, so far so Goldie, and then when he went for Triple H, who was going through his much maligned nobody wins but me phase, one sledgehammer shot later, Goldberg's mini streak was over. Just like that, a true kick to the teeth. Welcome to WWE, Bill. Fans hated it, and even though Goldberg won the title a month later at Unforgiven, it wasn't the same. Bad WWE, no soup for you. Number 4, that Mania match. Goldberg vs Brock Lesnar is the most disappointing WrestleMania match of all time. Hated by the fans, hated by the wrestlers who took part in it. It's plop. It's plop on a plate. It's plop that was left on the plate for so long that it starts to grow mold. Plop mold. And it grows, and it grows, and over time the plot mold evolves into intelligent life. It divides and divides until there's a little plot mold tribe. They learn to use tiny stinky tools, tiny stinky electricity. They fight tiny stinky civil wars over gods and territory, until the plot mold evolves beyond violence. It forms its own little Pootopia, Moldclahoma City. The plot mold then starts to create its own entertainment, like big pantomime fights between plot mold celebrities. One fight in particular gets built up, and there's a huge, crushing, boring disappointment, and everyone is furious, and then everyone dies. The end. Number 3, Jericho Outwrestled Him. Goldberg's immediate megastardom in WCW rubbed several superstars the wrong way, and one of those guys was Mr. Christopher Jericho. The man with the best hair in the world basically built a feud with Greenberg, as he called him, all by himself, but Goldberg didn't want to wrestle him because he didn't want to do comedy with a cruiserweight nobody. Ouch. So the hatred was already there, and when Goldberg came to WWE in 2003, the rivalry reared its ugly head when Bill badmouthed Y2J backstage. The two came to blows over it, and Jericho actually outwrestled the much larger Goldberg, slapping him with a front facelock and refusing to let it go. Now that's embarrassing for such a prize fighter. Number 2, ending Bret Hart's career. Bret Hart's magnificent career came to an abrupt end when he retired in 2000, suffering from post-concussion syndrome. The injury that caused him to walk away from the ring, inflicted by Bill Goldberg, who struck him with a misplaced mule kick. It was in their match at Starrcade. It gave the Hitman a severe concussion, and because the damage was underestimated, Hart wrestled several times more over the next few days, giving himself a few more concussions. The accumulation of injuries forced him to hang up his pink tights for good. With one reckless kick, Goldberg put one of the most beloved WWE superstars of all time on the shelf. It's the ultimate heel move, and that is excellent wordplay. Number 1, he hates Vince. Well, here's something they might want people to forget about Mr. Berg. In a 2009 interview with TMZ, he said, "I wouldn't work for Vince McMahon if he was the last motherfucker on earth." So, you know, that's a chewy little nugget. And that's our list. Did we miss any out? Tell us about it in the comments, and don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and you can follow me on Twitter here. I'm Adam from WhatCulture.com, and I'll see you soon.